Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling what feels like a really big challenge, unlocking the secrets to advanced English fluency.
Yes, it's a fascinating area, and you've gathered some really comprehensive resources for us.
Exactly. We're looking at, well, everything from vocabulary and grammar to listening and even pronunciation.
Right, so the mission, as I see it, is to sort of sift through all this material and pull out the most practical, insightful tips.
Tips that can help our listeners not just, speak English, but really get the nuances and sound more fluent, more natural.
Precisely. And the sources cover a huge amount of ground, don't they? We've got phrasal verbs, which are just essential.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And opposite adjectives, too.
Synonyms, prepositions, always a tricky one, those nouns that don't take an S.
Right, the uncountable ones, and the ones that don't need a or an.
Then there's do versus make, which always comes up.
Uh-huh. And how we talk about what things are made of or from.
While and during, pronoun cases, another area people stumble over.
Confusing verbs, those pairs that look alike.
Common preposition errors, which we all make sometime.
And then the different English levels, A1 to C2, what they actually mean.
And finally, yes, silent letters, a pronunciation minefield for many.
Yeah, okay, it's quite a list. It's definitely going to be an engaging exploration.
It should be a real journey into the finer points of English.
Okay, let's dive straight in then. Phrasal verbs first. The material really stresses how important these are for fluency.
They really are. They make your speech sound much less like textbook English.
We get some basic ones to start, like stand up, sit down, pick up, put down.
Yeah, take out, put in, put on, take off, kind of the everyday actions.
Foundational stuff, but it's the more complex ones where it gets interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the key thing really is understanding context. One phrasal verb can mean so many different things.
Right, like fill up. The source uses that as a great example.
It does. You can fill up a water bottle, right? With water.
Uh-huh. But you fill out a form with information.
Exactly. Or your closet could be filled up with clothes, meaning it's full.
Okay. And you can fill in missing information or fill in for someone at work.
Yeah, like substitute for them, and you fill up the car with gas or a vase with flowers.
Or even fill in the blank in an exercise.
Precisely. So you can't just learn one meaning. You have to look at the surrounding words. That's the main takeaway.
That makes a lot of sense. And then there are others like pull off, meaning to succeed at something difficult.
Yeah, like I can't believe we pulled it off. It's much more idiomatic than just saying we succeeded.
And take off, meaning to leave, often quickly, like he just took off.
Exactly. Sounds way more natural in conversation than he departed suddenly.
Definitely. What about put off? To postpone.
Right. Let's put off the meeting until Friday. Very common, very useful.
And turn around. To improve a situation.
Yeah, like we could still turn this project around. It suggests improvement, a change for the better. These phrases really lift your spoken English.
Okay, now for some more maybe colorful ones. Blur out.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. To say something suddenly without really thinking.
Like, I was so mad I just blurted it out. Captures that impulsive feeling.
It does. And then you have the contrast between comb through.
Meaning review very carefully, like looking through old photos.
Exactly. Combing through the files versus skim through.
Which is just a quick look, right? Like skimming a long report.
Precisely. Useful difference. Then there's gloss over.
To avoid talking about something unpleasant?
Yeah, deliberately. He glossed over his failures, implying he didn't give the full story.
Okay, and call off, like canceling an event.
Usually, yeah. They called off the match due to rain, but then you have call someone out.
Which is totally different. That's confronting someone publicly, right?
Exactly. Very different meanings, even though they sound similar.
And there are more nuances still. Call out to someone is just shouting to get attention.
Simple enough. And then the conversational ones, jump in versus butt in.
So jump in is usually okay, joining a conversation.
Generally positive or neutral, yeah. Whereas butt in is negative. It means interrupting rudely.
Understanding that difference is pretty crucial for polite conversation.
Definitely. Okay, moving on. Opposite adjectives.
This seems like a great way to make descriptions more vivid.
Absolutely. Especially with food, the source gives great examples. Chicken can be tender or...
tough.
Yeah.
Bread, fresh or stale.
Steak, juicy or dry. Fish, flaky or maybe mushy.
Vegetables, crisp or limp. Pastry, buttery or oily.
Pizza, flavorful or just bland. Lettuce, firm or wilted.
Fries, golden or burnt. Soup, hearty or watery.
Using these pairs really helps you describe things much more accurately.
For sure. And the source mentions this applies to other things too, right? Animals, objects.
Yeah, it briefly touches on others,
Yeah.
but the principle is the same. Thinking in opposites is a good strategy to expand your vocabulary across many topics.
Right, actively building your word bank.
Then we get to synonyms for common adjectives. So important for avoiding repetition.
Makes your language sound richer, more sophisticated, instead of just small.
You could say tiny, compact, modest, miniature, mini, even petite, depending on the context.
And for big.
Huge, enormous, gigantic, massive, colossal. Again, choosing the right one adds nuance.
It's about having those options available.
Exactly. It shows a greater command of the language. The key is to consciously learn alternatives to the most basic words.
And it's not just size. The source lists others too. Safe to eat becomes
Edible. Something that can be done is feasible.
a place that can be walked is walkable. Someone trusted is credible.
Something believed is plausible. If it can be accepted, it's acceptable.
Managed becomes manageable. Shaped is malleable. Burned is combustible.
Right. And interestingly, for can be solved, it points to the comments.
Suggesting maybe there isn't one perfect synonym, or it's debatable.
Could be context dependent. Language is funny like that. Which leads nicely into prefixes and suffixes for opposites.
Ah, this is like a vocabulary shortcut, isn't it? Learn the prefix, unlock new words.
It really is efficient, like persuade and dissuade, trust and mistrust,
Visible, invisible, patient, impatient.
connect, disconnect, cover, uncover, appear, disappear.
Tidy, untidy, judge, misjudge, obey, disobey.
Recognizing these patterns really helps you understand and use more words.
Okay, next up. Overused words, especially in writing, like essays. This seems very practical.
Very. The source advises against relying too much on simple connectors like firstly, secondly, lastly.
It suggests being more creative with transitions, right? Not just listing points.
Exactly. Aim for a smoother, more integrated flow. But it does give specific alternatives for overused words.
Yeah, like instead of show,
Use demonstrate. Instead of important, try significant.
use becomes utilize. Many becomes numerous.
Find could be discover. Good might be beneficial. Bad, perhaps detrimental.
Big, again, could be significant. Small could be negligible.
Easy becomes straightforward. Hard could be strenuous.
Get becomes obtain. Keep becomes retain.
Tell could be inform or articulate. Say, also articulate. Ask could be inquire.
Making those changes really elevates the tone of your writing.
Definitely makes it sound more polished, more academic.
Okay, prepositions of place. The infamous in, on, at. Always tricky.
They are. The examples in the source are helpful because they're so specific. You travel on the subway.
But wait in the subway station. Okay, you sit on a bench.
You're in Central Park, generally, but meet at a specific spot, maybe at the fountain.
Right. You're at Rockefeller Plaza. You ride on a scooter.
You might be at the Japanese tea garden, but sit on the patio there.
You go in an elevator, walk on a bridge or a walkway.
Travel in a car, but on a train or a boat. Arrive at the station.
You're at the beach, but lie on the sand. Stand at the counter.
A picture's on the wall, but you might go on the roof.
Yeah.
You go in a bakery or cafe.
You're at the park, but sit on a bench in the park. Your car's in the parking lot.
You're in the shower. You can lie on the bed or get in bed.
Furniture is under or behind something. You sit on a chair, maybe between plants.
Meet someone at the front door. Wait at the bus stop. Books are on the shelf.
You live on the coast, spend time in the countryside, meet at the corner of the street or at the park entrance.
Kids play on the swings.
Yeah.
Someone stands at the door. A crack is in the wall.
A meeting in a conference room, walk on the forest floor, keys on the table in the kitchen, picture on the wall. Wow.
It really forces you to visualize the relationship, the space.
It does, and prepositions of time follow similar logic. Yeah.
Kind of. Specific days get on Saturday, on weekends. Specific times get at 5 p.m. at noon.
And longer periods get in 1990 in July, in the evening.
Exactly. Helps you pinpoint time accurately.
And then a quick mention of prepositions with objects in, on, in front of, behind, beside, far from, near. Basic spatial stuff.
Fundamental, yeah. Now, those nouns that don't take an S in the plural.
Often uncountable concepts or substances, right?
Generally, yes. Like, thanks for advice, you give advice, not advices.
Uh-huh.
Work is uncountable, unlike individual tasks.
Clothing is the general term for clothes. Stuff for things.
Luggage for bags, equipment for weights or mats.
Rice is uncountable, unlike potatoes. Music is general, unlike specific songs.
Nature versus individual animals.
Yeah.
Sleep versus vitamins. Peace versus fights.
Traffic versus cars. Bread versus muffins. It's about countable items versus a general mass or concept.
Precisely. And conversely, nouns that don't usually take a or an, also often uncountable.
Like money instead of a dollar. Information instead of a message.
Time, not a minute. Advice, not a suggestion. Work, not an assignment.
Employment, not a job. Food, not a meal. Help, not a hand.
Sleep, not a break. Jewelry, not a ring. Progress, not a choice.
Praise, not a compliment. Music, not a song. Motivation, not a reason.
Evidence, not a clue. Comfort, not a hug. Broader concepts again.
And the source flags common errors here, like needing a piece of or a loaf of.
Exactly. You need those measure words. A loaf of bread, a piece of advice, a grain of sand, a bar of soap, a sheet of paper, a head of lettuce.
Good ones to remember. Those are definitely common slip-ups.
Very. Okay, the classic do versus make.
Ah, yes. What are the common pairings we make?
Make your bed, make a decision, make coffee, make a phone call, make an appointment.
And we do.
Do the dishes, do homework, do research, do someone a favor.
And cake. The source says check the comments.
Yeah, suggesting it might be flexible. You can make a cake, bake it, maybe sometimes informally. People say do a cake, meaning prepare or decorate it. Context again.
Interesting. And what about made of versus made from out of?
Okay, made of is usually when the original material is still obvious. A table made of wood, a vase made of glass, a ring made of gold, a house made of bricks.
The material isn't really transformed.
Right. Made out of often implies transformation or recycling. A blanket made out of old clothes, a birdhouse made out of a bottle.
Okay. And made from.
Often suggests a more significant change, maybe chemical. Ketchup made from tomatoes. Wine made from grapes.
And made with just lists ingredients.
Pretty much. Cookies made with chocolate chips. Soup made with chicken and vegetables.
And sculpture. Another one for the comments.
Seems so. Could be made of stone, made from clay that's fired, maybe even made with certain tools or techniques. Depends what you want to emphasize.
Nuances. Okay, while versus during.
Key difference is grammatical. While usually introduces a clause, subject plus verb. While I was cooking, while the movie was playing.
It describes a simultaneous action.
Often, yes. During is followed by noun or noun phrase during the movie, during the storm, during our trip.
It specifies the time frame when something happened.
Exactly. While links actions, during pinpoints a period.
Got it. Pronoun case, another potential minefield. Subject versus object pronoun.
The source gives correct examples. It's between you and me. Object after preposition.
But Joe, Sue, and I went. Subject of the verb.
Right. Reflexive. Work on myself. Teaching myself. Object again. Give it to Rob and me.
Subject again. Anne and I agree. And better than me is often used informally, right?
Accepted in informal speech, though traditional grammar might prefer better than I. The source acknowledges the common usage.
And Sarah and myself is reflexive use.
Usually considered non-standard unless Sarah is doing something to herself. But it's sometimes used for emphasis, though often critiqued.
And the team and depends on the sentence structure.
Exactly. The team and I, if it's the subject, the team and me, if it's the object, needs context.
Okay. Confusing verbs, words that look or sound similar but mean different things.
Right. You broke a promise, but you take initiative.
A campaign gains momentum, but a workload is heavy.
You have a discussion, but you grow weary of something.
You might like dance, especially ballet, but you buy stationery for the office.
The school principal, person, not a principal, rule, and news can influence your mood, while policy changes bring about results.
Remembering those pairs is crucial for accuracy.
Definitely. And that leads us to common preposition errors, a great checklist here.
Let's run through them. It's married to, not with.
Depend on, not in, interested in, not for.
Prefer coffee to tea, not than. Afraid of dogs, not from.
Responsible for the team, not of. Capable of doing it, not for.
Wait, at the bus stop, mostly? Though the source notes possible exceptions like being in a shelter.
Right. Disappointed with results, not of. Good at playing, not on.
Angry at his brother, not to. Tired of walking, not for.
Worried about exams, not for. Excited about the trip, not of.
Belongs to him, not for. Famous for their movies, not of.
Few. Fixing those makes a big difference to sounding correct.
Absolutely. Okay, briefly then, English levels, A1 to C2.
Yeah, the Common European Framework, the source just gives example sentences for each level.
Which is useful for self-assessment, sort of seeing what complexity is expected at each stage.
Exactly. A rough guide to progression.
And finally, silent letters. The bane of many learners' pronunciation.
Oh yes, the source gives helpful lists. Silent B in thumb, doubt, subtle, plumber, comb, climb, debt.
Silent G, sign, gnome, rain, align, design.
Silent H, hour, air, honor, honest, ghost, chaos.
Silent K, knowledge, knee, knife, knit, knock.
Silent L, calm, palm, salmon, yoke, half, talk, walk.
Silent P, psychologist, receipt, pneumonia, pseudo.
Silent S, island, isle, debris, even some place names like Arkansas, Illinois.
Silent W, wrap, sword, hole, answer, wrist, right.
And silent T. Listen, asthma, mortgage, often, ballet, gourmet.
Just knowing they are silent is the first big step.
It really is. Awareness is key.
And the source provides practice words for each level too.
Yes, lists of words from A1 up to C2, specifically for pronunciation practice, so you can focus on what's relevant for you.
That's incredibly useful. Tailored practice.
So wrapping things up, well, you can see just how broad this topic of fluency is.
Absolutely. We've gone from phrasal verbs and vocabulary building
right through to grammar nuances like prepositions, pronouns, and even pronunciation details like silent letters.
And getting a handle on these things, even the small stuff, really does boost your confidence and how well you're understood.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Choosing the right synonym, using the correct preposition, pronouncing words clearly, it all adds up.
We definitely encourage listeners to maybe go back and revisit parts of this deep dive that felt particularly relevant or challenging for them.
Yeah, spending a bit more time on those specific areas can really help solidify the learning. It was a lot to take in at once.
It certainly was. Okay, so a final thought to leave everyone with.
Given how vast English is, think about this. What specific area of fluency, maybe something we didn't even cover in detail today, do you find the most intriguing or perhaps the most difficult?
And why do you think that particular area is so fascinating or challenging for you? Something to ponder as you continue your English learning journey. All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm wading through this just huge ocean of English words, trying to keep my head above water.
I know exactly what you mean. It can be pretty overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you hear that English has over 1 million words.
1 million, really?
It's true, it's mind-boggling. But here's the thing. For most of us, we don't need to know anywhere near that many words for everyday conversation.
So you're saying there's hope for us average folks?
Absolutely. Around 3,000 words are generally considered enough to get by. And that's great news, right?
Definitely takes the pressure off. But what about going beyond those 3,000 words?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The materials you sent me for today's deep dive really got me thinking about how expanding your vocabulary can help you express yourself more clearly and effectively.
So it's not just about sounding smart, it's about actually being able to say what you mean with more, well, with more precision, I guess.
Exactly. It's about nuance and clarity. So today we are diving into some seriously cool and sometimes challenging English words. We'll look at examples, discuss strategies for learning them, and explore how even difficult words can make your communication sharper and more engaging.
This should be fun. Okay, so the main source you shared is this really comprehensive list of difficult English words, alphabetically arranged, all the way from A to Z. And each word has its own definition. I have to admit, it's a bit intimidating at first glance.
I can see that. But let's break it down and see how we can extract some real gems from this list.
Great idea. Why don't we take a little journey through the alphabet, pulling out some intriguing examples along the way? You came.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Perfect. So starting with the letter A, we have the word acumen. The definition given is the ability to make good judgments and quick decisions, typically in a particular domain. Think about that for a second. Having acumen, especially in a field you care about, can be hugely beneficial. It's about quickly assessing information, seeing the big picture, and making smart choices. And especially for you as a listener who's clearly someone who likes to stay informed and make well-thought-out decisions.
Right, and it's important to remember that acumen isn't just about being intelligent. It's about a kind of practical wisdom, like a keenness of mind that leads to action.
I like that. So it's not just about having knowledge, it's about knowing how to use it effectively.
Absolutely.
Okay, on to letter B. Here we encounter the word baffle. It means to totally bewilder or perplex. Now, we've all been there, right? Facing a situation that leaves us completely stumped. But using baffle to describe that feeling adds a whole new level of precision.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's more than just saying, I don't get it. Being baffled implies that you've really tried to understand something, but it just hasn't clicked yet.
Yes, exactly. Like you're facing this puzzle that you can't quite solve.
Right, and it makes you sound a little more sophisticated than just saying, huh.
Definitely. Moving on to C, we have the word charisma. The definition here is compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire devotion in others. I think charisma is fascinating. It's more than just being likable. It's about having that magnetic quality that draws people in, sometimes even inspiring fierce loyalty. It's pretty powerful stuff.
You know, I've always wondered what makes someone charismatic. Is it something you're born with, or can you learn it?
That's a great question. I think it's probably a bit of both, but having a word like charisma helps us pinpoint that quality and start to dissect what makes it so compelling.
True. And understanding charisma can help you better analyze how leaders and influencers connect with people.
Let's skip ahead a bit to E, where we have the word enigma, a person or thing that is mysterious, puzzling, or difficult to understand. Doesn't that word just ooze mystery and intrigue?
Oh, for sure. That makes me think of unsolved mysteries and cryptic messages.
Me too. And, life is full of enigmas, both big and small. Everything from the vast universe to the quirks of human behavior can feel like an enigma at times.
I think having the word enigma in your vocabulary helps you frame those mysteries in a more interesting way.
I agree. Okay, for F, we have foresight. The ability to predict, or the action of predicting, what will happen or be needed in the future. Given your interest in always being prepared, this word seems particularly relevant.
Definitely. Foresight is all about anticipating what's coming next, so you can plan accordingly and avoid potential problems down the line.
I think that's a skill we could all benefit from honing.
I agree. And I think it's important to remember that foresight isn't about having some magical crystal ball. It's about analyzing current trends, understanding potential consequences, and making educated guesses about the future.
It sounds like a really valuable skill, not just for leaders and decision makers, but for everyone.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's jump to K. This is where things get a bit more poetic. We have the word kalopsia, defined as the state in which everything and everyone looks beautiful.
Kalopsia.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me. It's a beautiful word and a beautiful concept.
It is, isn't it? It makes me think of those rare moments when everything just seems to sparkle.
Yeah, like you're seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. It's interesting how our perception of beauty can be so fluid and how sometimes everything just seems perfect.
Totally. Okay, scooting along to S, we find serendipity, the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Serendipity is just pure joy. It's those unexpected moments of good fortune that sprinkle magic into our lives.
Like finding a $20 bill in your old coat pocket.
Exactly. Or bumping into an old friend you haven't seen in years. Those little happy accidents.
I think what's cool about serendipity is that it reminds us that not everything has to be planned. Sometimes the best things in life happen when we least expect them.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let's wrap up our alphabetical adventure with X, where we encounter xenophobia, which is defined as dislike of or prejudice against people from other countries. It's a word that deals with a sensitive topic, but it's important to acknowledge its presence in this list.
You're right. Understanding xenophobia is crucial for engaging in meaningful conversations about social issues.
Absolutely. We're simply acknowledging that the word is in the source and defining it. We're not endorsing the sentiment behind the word, of course.
Of course. Okay, so we've explored some really interesting and sometimes challenging words from this list. And what strikes me is how much depth and nuance these words add to our language. They allow us to express really complex ideas and emotions with much greater precision.
I agree. And the best part is, this is just a small sampling. There are so many more gems hidden within this list. But now, the million-dollar question is, how do we actually learn these tough English words? I mean, it's one thing to see them on a list, but how do we make them part of our everyday vocabulary?
Well, the source you provided also addresses that. It introduces the concept of semantics, which it defines as the study of meanings. Semantics is all about going beyond the dictionary definition and understanding the subtle ways words work, how they relate to each other, and how they've evolved over time.
So it's not just about memorizing a definition, it's about understanding the whole story behind the word.
Exactly. And that deeper understanding can make it much easier to remember and use those words correctly.
That makes a lot of sense. The source also stresses the importance of practice. Like anything else, using these words regularly is the key to making them stick.
Absolutely. It's about moving them from your passive vocabulary words you recognize to your active vocabulary words you can easily use in conversation.
The source recommends creating your own list of complex words and meanings and aiming to learn at least 5 new words regularly. That sounds like a manageable goal, right?
I think so. It's about building a sustainable habit. Focus on a few words at a time and gradually expand your vocabulary over time. Slow and steady wins the race.
Right. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And the source makes another great point. Mastering English vocabulary is an ongoing process. Start with a solid foundation of simpler words and gradually work your way up to the more complex ones.
It's a journey, not a sprint. And each new word you learn adds another layer to your understanding of language and the world around you.
Now, the source also includes a frequently asked questions section, which I think provides some helpful nuggets of information. Let's take a look, shall we?
Sure, let's dive into those. I always find FAQs helpful for getting straight to the point.
The first question asks for a list of 20 hard words in English. The source provides a good selection, and I'll highlight a few that jumped out at me. We have labyrinth, which refers to a complex, intricate maze. Nirvana, a state of perfect peace and liberation. Pandemonium, which describes a scene of utter chaos and wild disorder. And, of course, our friend serendipity, which we talked about earlier. We also have tangible, something that can be touched or felt. Unbiased, meaning impartial and fair. And again, xenophobia, which we also defined earlier.
It's an eclectic mix, isn't it? You've got abstract concepts, concrete descriptions, and even words that delve into social dynamics. It's a reminder of just how varied and expressive the English language can be.
Okay. The next question asks for a list of 10 difficult words starting with the letter I. The source provides some great examples. Let's see, we have idiosyncrasy, which describes a peculiar habit or mannerism. Imperative, meaning something that is absolutely necessary or urgent. Impetus, the force that drives something forward. Indigenous, meaning originating or occurring naturally in a specific place. And inevitable, which refers to something that is certain to happen.
Even within a single letter of the alphabet, you have a range of meanings that touch on everything from personality quirks to the forces that shape our world. It's pretty impressive when you think about it.
And finally, we have the question that we already discussed. What is semantics? The source gives a very clear and simple answer. Semantics is the study of meanings. I think this is a great reminder that at the core of vocabulary expansion is a deeper appreciation for how words work and what they truly signify.
Yes, it's about going beyond rote memorization and engaging with the nuances and complexities of language.
Well, this deep dive has been truly enlightening. I think the key takeaway is that actively building a strong vocabulary, even by tackling those seemingly difficult words, is an incredibly rewarding investment. It empowers us to understand more, express ourselves better, and engage with the world in a more nuanced and meaningful way.
I completely agree. And as the source highlights, consistent practice, coupled with a focus on truly understanding the meanings of words, is the recipe for success.
Exactly. It's about making a conscious effort to expand your linguistic horizons, and who knows, you might even surprise yourself with the results. Now, here's a thought for you, our listener. What if you challenge yourself to incorporate just 1 or 2 of these new words into your conversations this week? Just try it out and see how it feels. You might be surprised at how even small changes in your vocabulary can shift your communication style and deepen your understanding of the world around you. It's a fun experiment, and you never know what new perspectives you might unlock. Until next time, happy word exploring.
Happy exploring.
Ever get that feel, like when you're trying to really nail what you want to say, or you're reading something and bam, there's this word that just throws you completely off.
Yeah, it's like you hit a wall.
Exactly. It's like there's this whole secret level to English, and today we're going to try to unlock it.
I like that, a secret level. And we've got a great map for this adventure. We're diving into an article that breaks down, get this, over 200 difficult words.
200? Wow, okay, we've got our work cut out for us.
But hey, don't worry. The goal isn't to become a walking dictionary overnight.
Right.
We're going to pull out the good stuff, the insights that really help us understand how these words tick. And trust me, that's going to make your communication so much sharper.
And who doesn't want that, right? I mean, the English language, we all know it's massive. Over 1 million words, it's crazy.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
But here's the thing, and the article points this out. For everyday conversation, you really only need a surprisingly small number of words, something like 3,000.
Yeah, that's a much more manageable number.
Exactly. So, we're not talking about suddenly becoming super formal and using all these obscure words all the time. It's more about having that extra layer of precision in how you express yourself.
It's like having the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a hammer for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about sounding smart or, fancy.
Right.
It actually helps you understand things better, too, like when you're reading.
Absolutely. Reading comprehension, overall grasp of the language, and of course, being able to get your ideas across with more nuance, more clarity.
Okay, so how's this article set up? We're calling this a deep dive, right? So how deep are we going?
So it's actually pretty straightforward. It's an alphabetical list, A to Z.
Okay, easy enough.
Yeah, and for each word, they give you a definition. It's kind of like a little mini dictionary of, those trickier words.
I like it. A curated collection.
Exactly. And there's even more. They have sections on how to actually learn these words, plus some frequently asked questions, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Nice. Always good to have those FAQs.
Definitely. What I find really interesting is how these words often represent ideas, concepts that, need a bit more finesse than our everyday words sometimes allow.
Oh, I see. So they allow for more
Precision.
Right, precision.
Like they unlock a more precise way of thinking and talking about things.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Starting with A. I already spotted a few that caught my eye. Abandon. I mean, we all know what it means to leave something behind, right? But this is about more than that. It's that idea of ceasing to support, to look after something or someone, like you've washed your hands of it.
There's definitely a sense of finality to it.
Right. Then there's abolish. Again, not just stopping something, but formally ending a system, a practice. And I love this one, abscond. It's so dramatic. It's about leaving secretly, often because you've done something wrong.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a shady vibe to that one.
Totally.
Even with just these three words, all starting with A,
Yeah.
you see how they all have these slightly different shades of meaning.
It's true. Like each one paints a specific picture.
Exactly.
Okay, so more from A. What about accretion?
That's a good one. You often see this in scientific contexts or even financial ones.
Yeah.
It's all about that gradual process of growth, like how sediment builds up over time, layer by layer.
Got it. And acumen, now that's a word I wish I had more of, that sharpness of judgment, especially in a specific area.
Oh, yeah, like business acumen.
Exactly. It suggests you've got that knack for making smart decisions, real instinct for it.
And it really speaks to a certain level of expertise, doesn't it?
Totally.
And we can't forget about affluent. It's interesting because it's got two distinct meanings. One is the obvious one, wealthy.
Right.
But it can also mean, when we're talking about liquids, flowing freely, abundantly, like a river after heavy rain.
Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that.
It's a good reminder that words can be slippery. Their meaning can change depending on the context.
Okay, on to B. Let's see. Baffle. I think we've all felt baffled at some point. That feeling of being completely perplexed, like you just can't wrap your head around something.
Oh, for sure. Like trying to solve a really cryptic crossword clue.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's barbaric. That's a powerful word. Savagely cruel, primitive.
It definitely evokes strong feelings.
It does. And bedlam. Oh, that's a great one. It just sounds chaotic. A scene of pure noise and confusion. You can practically hear it like a crowded market in, ancient Rome or something.
You can almost smell it too, can't you?
Yeah. Okay, see now. How about cajole? To persuade someone, but through gentle urging or flattery.
Oh, there's definitely an art to that.
I know some people who are masters of cajolery. Then there's charisma. That's a tricky one to define, but you know it when you see it. That magnetic charm that draws people in.
It's like a special kind of energy.
Yeah, and cliche. I think we're all guilty of using a cliche or two from time to time. It's a phrase that's become so overused, it's lost all its impact.
It's like that saying, familiarity breeds contempt.
Huh. Okay, a few from D now. Dauntless. I love this one. Fearless, determined. It makes me think of a brave knight or something.
Oh, for sure. It's a very heroic word.
It is. Then there's desolate, that deep, deep sense of loneliness and despair, or a place that's completely deserted, like a barren wasteland.
It's a word that evokes a real sense of emptiness.
It does. And discrepancy. That's a good practical one. When something doesn't add up, when there's a difference or an inconsistency between two things.
Very useful for fact-checking and just for, clear thinking in general.
Okay, I want to skip ahead a bit now, just pick out a few interesting ones from other letters.
Sounds fun.
So under K, we have kalopsia. And this one is fascinating. It means everything appears beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's lovely.
It is, isn't it? It makes you wonder if it's even possible, like a state of mind where everything is just aesthetically pleasing.
It makes you wonder if you could somehow train your brain to see the world that way.
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, under M, we have malapropism. And this is when you use a word that sounds like the word you meant, but it means something totally different. It usually ends up being pretty funny.
Oh, like saying specifically instead of specifically.
Yeah, exactly. It's named after a character from a play who was famous for these kinds of mix-ups.
That's hilarious.
It is. And then under S, we have serendipity. I love this word. It's all about those happy accidents, those chance encounters that lead to something good.
It's like fate intervening in a positive way.
Yeah. And finally, under X, we find xenophobia. And this is a more serious one. It's that intense dislike or prejudice against people from other countries.
Yeah, a really important word, sadly.
It is. So, that was just a tiny paste, but it really shows you the range of these difficult words, right?
Absolutely. From the lighthearted to the serious, from abstract concepts to practical everyday terms.
So why bother learning these words anyway? What's the point?
Well, the article actually makes a really compelling case for this.
Right.
It reminds us that a bigger vocabulary is like, it's like a superpower when it comes to reading.
How so?
Well, you can grasp more complex ideas. You're not getting tripped up by unfamiliar words. It's like leveling up your reading comprehension.
Makes sense.
And of course, it improves your overall knowledge of the language.
Right.
But maybe most importantly, it gives you the tools to express yourself with so much more precision. Really get your point across effectively.
Yeah. The article says, and I love this quote, "Everything is hard until it's made easy."
Oh, that's so true.
Right. These words, they might seem daunting now, but with a bit of effort, they can become second nature.
It's about shifting your perspective, seeing them as a challenge, not an obstacle.
I like that.
And the article even gives some tips on how to actually learn these words.
Oh, okay.
One thing they emphasize is practice, practice, practice. Use them in your own writing, in your conversations. Don't just memorize the definition.
Right. You have to actually use them.
Exactly. And this is interesting. They talk about semantics.
Semantics?
Yeah, which they define as the study of meaning. Understanding semantics, like how words get their meaning and how those meanings relate to each other, it could be a huge help when you're learning new vocabulary.
So it's not just about the definition itself, but the whole web of meaning around a word.
Exactly. It's about understanding those connections, the nuances.
That makes a lot of sense.
And they have some other practical tips, like starting with simpler words and gradually working your way up to the tougher ones.
Okay, so take it slow.
Yeah, don't try to do too much at once.
Yeah.
Another tip is to create a list, a personal list of words you want to learn, and then make a conscious effort to learn a few new ones each day or each week.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's all about consistency. Slow and steady wins the race.
Love it. I'm a big fan of those small, manageable steps.
Me too.
So the article has a section for frequently asked questions, which is always super helpful.
Oh yeah, those are great.
One question is all about it basically asks, what are some really hard words? And they give a list of 20 words, some of which we've already talked about. Labyrinth, nirvana, nomenclature, pandemonium. Oh, pseudonym. Remember that one?
Yeah, a fake name.
Exactly. Malapropism. We talked about that. Omniscient, rejuvenate, sagacious.
I love that one.
It's a good one. Serendipity, solace.
Comfort, right?
Yes. Tangible, tenet, unbiased, unilateral,
Unsided, yeah.
utopian, valediction.
A farewell speech.
Yep. Overwhelm, whimsical, and xenophobia. Quite a list.
It really is. And it's interesting to see which ones they consider to be particularly challenging.
It is. Another question lists 10 difficult words that all start with the letter I.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay, so we've got iconoclast, idiosyncrasy, idol, imbibe, imperative.
Essential, right?
Yeah, impetus, incarnate, indigenous,
Fative, yep.
inevitable, and insane. Quite a mix there.
It's fascinating how words with the same starting letter can have such different meanings and, vibes.
Totally.
Like iconoclast, someone who challenges the status quo compared to idiosyncrasy, which is just a quirky little trait.
True. And then there's a very straightforward question, which is, what is semantics? And they answer it very simply. Semantics is the study of meanings. Which brings us back to that key idea we've been talking about, right?
Totally. That words are so much more than just sounds. They carry meaning, history, nuance. And understanding all that is what makes you a true master of language.
So wrapping up this deep dive into difficult words, I think the big takeaway is that expanding your vocabulary is totally achievable.
It's a journey, not a destination.
I like that. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
No, not at all. Small steps, consistency.
Right. And most importantly, really understanding the meaning of the words, not just memorizing them. That's where the real magic happens.
Absolutely. And as we've seen, a lot of these words represent really interesting and useful concepts. They help you understand the world better, and they help you express yourself more effectively.
It's like upgrading your communication toolkit.
Exactly.
So here's a little challenge for you, for everyone listening. Pick 1 or 2 words from all the ones we've talked about today. Something that, I don't know, maybe resonated with you or that you think you could actually use. And this week, try to work them into your conversations, your writing. Just see what happens.
I love that. Put them into practice.
Exactly. You might be surprised by how much even a small shift in your vocabulary can change how you communicate and how you think. So give it a try and let us know how it goes.